we've always embraced the fact that no one ever wanted to give us anything easy. And that applies to Fat Joe, that applies to DJ Khaled, that applies to Cool and Dre. You know, we were never the darlings of the game. We had to basically fight our way to get in. And at the same time, I don't want to shut down the people that's embraced us. You know, the fans have always embraced us, and we love the fans. And the artists have embraced us as well. But it definitely, you know, we had to pick the lock and we had to kick the back door down to get in. But, you know, that only makes us stronger and better.
What up? It's Dramos, and this is the recap. Of course, as I do each and every week, breaking down some of the biggest headlines from this last week. It is also the beginning of Women's History Month, so I'll be doing some things throughout the show to, of course, honor that. And joining me in just a little bit, I have an amazing group of guys who are just some legendary music producers. They go by the name of Cool and Dre, so they'll be hopping on in just a little bit to break down some of this week's biggest stories. Before we have them, you know, get in here and get in the mix, let's break down some of the BS from this last week. Now, as we get into Women's History Month, you know, it'd be easy for me to feed you some shiny puff pieces about the wonderful and influential women who have made incredible strides in this country. And of course, while those women definitely deserve, you know, an immense amount of shine, I also think it's important for me, you know, as a male to check my privilege and acknowledge, you know, the disparities and toxic situations that exist in this country when it comes to men and women. And for the purpose of this conversation, I want to focus on the workplace. Now, I know this is probably going to rub some men the wrong way, but if it does, you and your little sensitive, fragile ego are probably part of the problem. Now, of course, the effects of COVID have, you know, been felt by almost everyone over the course of this last year. But when it comes to the workforce, women are being hit the hardest. And this has, you know, caused such a stir that even a couple weeks ago, our Vice President Kamala Harris went as far as to call this a national emergency, as over 2 million women have left the workforce either by choice or have been laid off.
This isn't a national emergency. Women leaving the workforce in these numbers, it's a national emergency, and it demands a national solution.
Now, there are a number of theories as to why this is happening, and one of the more common ones that I want to focus on is what we've seen, you know, being the result of kids not being in school and also daycares closing down. Now, of course, your kids should always be your top priority, but this whole situation exposes the idea that women are generally expected to be the ones, when push comes to shove, who drop everything and tend to the kids rather than their father. And let's be real here. There aren't too many men out there who would proudly wear the title of stay-at-home dad. And I know some of you, you know, naysayers out there are going to say, well, it's because, you know, the man probably makes more money than the woman. And you know what? You're probably right, but that's not because men are inherently more qualified or even smarter. I mean, let's be honest, in the 2016 election, you know, we saw a man with zero political experience somehow outvote and defeat a woman who had decades of experience. And just for the record, this is a man so dumb, he publicly suggested that we inject ourselves with disinfectant to defeat COVID.
I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection?
The reality is we see these issues because we live in an incredibly sexist society. I mean, on the topic of qualification, studies even show that women have been graduating from college at higher rates than men for decades, yet here in America, women on average make less than their male counterparts for the same job. I mean, it's even worse, though, of course, as it unfortunately tends to be for women of color. Now, it's said that for every dollar a white male makes, a black woman makes 62 cents. And when it comes to Latin women, sadly, they're all the way at the bottom here. They're only making 55 cents per dollar that their white male counterpart makes. And listen, if money is not an issue for you, let's also touch on the topic of sexual harassment that women sadly have to deal with at an alarming number. In fact, 1 in 3 professional women say they've experienced sexual harassment at work. And that's according to a survey done by the Center for Talent Innovation. That's 1 in 3 professional women saying they've experienced sexual harassment at work. That's a lot of women, guys. And you know what's sad? Many of these women are too afraid to report it because they fear they either won't be believed or it may affect their career, because many of these cases end up happening with advances coming from men who are in positions of power. Now, we saw a glaring example of this, allegedly, of course, these last couple weeks, and this last week it's kind of been unfolding even larger as accusations have been coming out towards New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who, among other things, has been accused of making unwanted sexual advances towards multiple women, including former aides, and this comes in the form of some alleged physical advances as well as just inappropriate comments. Now, Andrew, I get it, man. Like, you're a single guy, you know what I mean? Like, you got a head full of hair. You're riding high right now as, you know, America's political darling, got all the clout in the world. And you've even managed to like curate this whole little bad boy persona, you know, on the internet, as people speculate that you even have your nipples pierced. But all of that, it doesn't give you the right to fly your freak flag at the office and make women who are young enough to be your daughter uncomfortable while they're just trying to make strides in their career. Now, of course, our buddy Andy has denied, you know, the sexual assault allegations, and you know, he has the right to defend himself. But he did go as far as to apologize for his actions as it pertains to making people feel uncomfortable.
I now understand that I acted in a way that made people feel uncomfortable.
Now, Cuomo is just the current high-profile example of women being made to feel uncomfortable in the workplace. But it's been going on long before him, and sadly, is going to continue going on unless we as men get it through our heads that the workplace is not a spot to try and pick up your next date. Now, I get it, you know, I mean, sadly, some of you men, you know, you only started getting laid when you got some money in your pocket or a job title that, you know, you were able to hang over people's head. And listen, even looking at the statistics, you know, being fair, it's estimated that 30% of relationships start in the workplace. But here's the reality. It's 2021. And with the plethora of dating apps out there, and my personal favorite when I was in these streets, of course, Instagram DMs, there's really no excuse for you to be potentially creeping out one of your coworkers who's simply there just trying to earn her check so she can, you know, pay for her Grubhub habit or her membership to Amazon Prime. And the last thing I also want to cover on this topic is the men who, when they hear these stories, they hear these accusations, their immediate reaction is to say, oh, she's probably lying, or what's the big deal? I invite you guys who have the nerve to say things like that or anything even within that realm, aside from saying, man, that's a terrible thing that woman had to go through. Any of you guys who, you know, seem to lack some sort of empathy for these women and their situations, I invite you to imagine that this was your daughter and she came home and told you that a man was harassing her at work or even just making unwanted sexual advances. And while I don't have any kids of my own yet personally, you better believe that my reaction to this is going to be to go and have a conversation with this man. And if you have the nerve to call yourself a man, I'd expect you to have a similar reaction. Now, to kind of sum it all up, put it all in a neat little bow, men, it's simply this. We just have to do a whole lot better. Now, with that said, I know that was a bit heavy. We're gonna lighten things up just a little bit. I want to bring on today's guest. We're gonna switch gears and just lighten the mood of the show just a little bit. My guest this week, they are legendary music producers who have worked with everyone from Lil Wayne to Chris Brown to Beyonce and Jay-Z. They're the brains behind the latest single from Fat Joe and DJ Khaled called Sunshine. Cool and Dre, how we feeling?
My boy was good. All is blessed. All is blessed.
Man, I'm getting some serious FOMO right now. The Miami vibes are coming in heavy right now from you guys. Dre's flexing with the palm trees in the background. I see Cool with the sunshine peeking through the window over there.
Man, the window vibe. You know, gotta have that sunshine in.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
I love it. We're gonna get into that. I know you guys got the record that's going crazy right now. So we'll definitely talk about that. Let's hop into some current events real quick, if that's cool, you guys. I'd love to kind of hear your take on a few things.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. So I mean, this last week, one of the bigger things we saw was like states like Texas and Mississippi, man, they're lifting some of the COVID restrictions, or all the COVID restrictions, I should say. I mean, Florida feels like it's been open forever at this point. I don't feel like Florida, especially in comparison to New York, we were locked down over here. So we've been seeing you guys partying up over in Florida as a whole. I've seen a lot of people from the New York area traveling out there. I mean, but take me through this last year for you guys. I mean, how much has it affected you guys? Not that much. I mean, take me through this last year dealing with COVID for you guys.
You know, it's affected us just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Being locked down at the house, you know, not being able to really move around, having to adjust to wearing a mask every day. You know what I'm saying? I think the one thing that Cool and I were super blessed and fortunate is to be able to still be productive inside. You know, we're in the music business, and a lot of artists, a large part of what they do is going out and touching the fans and performing. So, you know, we feel really bad for a lot of artists that they don't get the opportunity to do that. Right. But as far as Cool and I, you know, we're inside. We're not outside like that. We're inside making music. So if anything, we ended up working more because of artists. You know, what they're doing is like, yo, we're just gonna record albums and put it out because we can't perform. Right. So I think that's one you know, positive aspect of everything. And then me personally, you know, my daughter's 15 months, so the pandemic sat me down, and I've spent the whole year hanging out with my daughter Marley. And I know for sure that without this pandemic, I wouldn't have been able to spend as much time as I have been, you know, with her. So, you know, that's just about it.
I think for the creatives, man, you know, anytime that you're like in a space where you're really forced to kind of just create is always a good thing. You know what I mean? So, but like Dre said, man, we've just been, you know, staying as creative as we can during all this. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
I think it's the most productive we have been as music producers in a long time. You know what I'm saying? Yep. We have so many things going on in life, personal and business and all that other stuff. I think, you know, like I talk to my brother Khaled all the time. He's quick to say, yo, listen, if you can't figure it out now, you're never going to be able to figure it out. Right. So we've been fortunate to be able to figure it out during these hard times.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's what's interesting. It's like it's cool because when everything's open, man, it's easy to get caught up in having to go to a meeting or a dinner or this, you know, taking this call, this and that. That takes you away from your craft. You know what I mean? Takes you away from that thing. But I mean, yeah, I think even personally for me, it's been nice to just sit down and dive in without the distractions to everything. I mean, obviously you guys did that and it's paying dividends with some of the records you've been putting out and projects that you're working on, which I do want to get into in a second. But I also want to talk about from the creative side of things. I mean, we've seen like a whole lot of this back and forth about cancel culture lately, right? I mean, the last thing we saw this week was these Dr. Seuss books that are being pulled from the shelves, right? And then this kind of made this whole meme about Cardi B's WAP. How is that not offensive, but Dr. Seuss is? And Eminem's getting backlash on TikTok over records that he made years ago. All this different stuff. So you guys are creating things, right? You have to be in a creative space. You're working with artists and all these different things. Your name is attached to records, regardless if you say the words or not. Are you conscious, or do you feel like you have to be conscious now when you go into the studio and you're putting things out, or do you kind of feel like creativity is creativity and it should be safe?
Nah, we're very conscious about. Let me keep it real with you. Sure. With certain artists, that's just more than artists to us. That's like family, you know what I'm saying, and close friends that we make music with. As far as like lyrics and songs, if we hear something that we feel like, yo, they're not gonna understand that lyric, we definitely, you know, we vocalize that, bro, and be like, yo, change that. You know, it's an amazing bar, but they're going to come for us, man. They're going to come cancel us.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? For sure that, you know, the cancel culture thing, you know, it hinders, as far as being creative, you know, it does kind of like, I don't want to use the word water down, but, you know, sometimes when you go in the studio, you just want to be able to say what you want to say. Right. You feel what I'm saying? And some people get away with it, you know, but, you know, we know better than that. You know what I'm saying? We're not 20 years old, 19 years old anymore. We grown men with kids and families. And, you know, the last thing we ever want to do is put ourselves in a position where they come for us and then, you know, stop our ability to be productive to feed our families. So for 100%, we're cognizant of that for sure.
I get that. I mean, so let's also kind of keep talking about the music industry as a whole right now, because you got apps like TikTok having so much power over the success of a record, or literally us seeing, you know, these overnight sensations kind of happening. You know what I mean? Like before, we've heard the term overnight, you know, sensation, but now we're actually literally seeing it. A kid can upload a video to TikTok, it goes crazy. Now he has a record deal, it's playing on the radio. I mean, what are your thoughts as somebody who came up in kind of the old school era of it, and then now seeing this new version of how people are making it in the industry?
It's good. You know what I'm saying? You know, me and Cool, we came up in the 2000s, you know what I'm saying? And I can remember Napster changing the game.
Yeah.
And you know, the industry fought back and it hurt. And then when they finally, you know, embraced technology, you know, things are thriving now. You know what I'm saying? But I can remember a record video killed a radio star. You know, when MTV first popped up, it changed the game. You know, a lot of artists couldn't perform on camera the way they was just, you know, performing on radio, and that changed the game. So it's just a further extension of that. You know what I'm saying? It's how the game go, and the kids control this, man. You know, the kids is what they decide what's hot. You know what I mean? Of course we do too. You know what I mean? But you know, the kids, they are on TikTok. That's what they love. So that's just how it goes. You know what I'm saying? You just, you know, you can never fight technology.
Yeah, you can. You gotta adapt with the times. You know what I'm saying? The guys that are like, yo, nah, that's for the kids. Nah, that's a waste of time. They gonna be stuck. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna become dinosaurs. You know what I'm saying? You gotta adjust with the times. And we're in a time of, you know, it started out with the whole MySpace was the first introduction of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it evolved. You know, the whole YouTube came along, and you know, all the other platforms, the Tumblrs and all that, and then Instagram, and now it's like, and the TikTok, and you know, and all these other platforms, and it's like you got to embrace it. And the fact that an artist can cut a record in his bedroom and upload it, and it goes viral. Is an amazing thing. You know what I mean? Because they're basically A&Ring themselves. You know what I mean? The labels just got to go look at the numbers, look at the analytics, and be like, "Yo, let's try to get into business with this particular person." You know what I mean? So I think it's also a great way to discover talent. And you know, you got if you've been in the music business for a while and you don't embrace that, you know, there's nothing we can tell you. Like you're basically hustling backwards. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to embrace the technology. You got to embrace the youth. The youth are what dictate what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's the next generation. You gotta embrace it.
No, and I mean, I think you guys are proof of taking your own advice, right? So let's talk about Sunshine. I mean, you got the track. If I'm not mistaken, Dre, you found a Morpheus on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I woke up one morning really early, and you know, I gave thanks for another day, jumped on the phone like the rest of the world on social media. And while I was going through social media, I seen this video pop up with this kid DJing, and he did this crazy blend. And it really brought me back to the days of when Cool and I used to DJ, and when we were younger, and we used to do crazy blends all the time. I can remember us blending a Mobb Deep Shook One acapella with a Boyz II Men Water Runs Dry instrumental. I remember doing those things, and that aided us in being producers. But you know what I'm saying? So when I saw that, immediately I was just like, this is incredible. And then when I heard the light crack, I was like, oh my God, I know exactly who to call. And it was crazy because Joe was on vacation with Khaled, and the whole time they were out there, they were listening to that type of music. And Joe had been retired. He's like, yo, I'm retired. But then he started saying, yo, if I do anything again, there's got to be some feel good. It's got to feel good. And then, you know, Khaled's been screaming like, yo, it's all about the light, sunshine. Like, you know, let's embrace the light. Let's be positive. Right. So I called Joe up and I was like, yo, bro, I seen something that's so crazy. I'm going to send it to you. But I think it's something that we could flip and it'll be a smash. And I sent him the video, and then he called me on FaceTime with him and Khaled, and both of them was like, yo, get it done. It's crazy. So, you know, we made the record as far as the beat, and then we came over to Khaled's studio to record it at his house. Yeah. And let me say that at his resort. And just being honest with you. Right. So we wrote the record together. Me, Khaled, Joe, Cool, and the rest was history. You know what I'm saying? The last time that we were all together to make a record was Lean Back. Like me and Cool, we've been blessed. We produced the majority of Fat Joe's hits. Yeah. But you know, everyone's on the go. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it had been a while where, you know, me, Cool, Khaled, and Joe are all in the same place making a record. And you can hear the energy, you could feel it. And, you know, that's why it's you know, doing what it's doing. We're thankful for it. We're glad that it's bringing people positive vibes. You know, the weather's starting to change up now, so that sunshine's about to come. You know what I'm saying? I got Khaled right beside me. Khaled, say what up.
Yo, what's up, man? Y'all good?
How you feeling?
Living a life.
Whoa. Yo, so, you know what I'm saying? It's been amazing, you know what I'm saying, to say the least.
I love it. You know what? Before I let you guys get out of here, last thing I want to ask you is one of the things I always loved about you guys and just the whole crew of Terror Squad and Khaled and all these guys, I felt like I saw myself for the first time when it came to hip hop, you know, and Pun obviously as well. You know, let's talk about, did you guys ever feel like outsiders when it came to this hip hop space and creating, you know, with this kind of crew that didn't look like the typical rapper that we thought of at the time?
That's a good question. You know what I'm saying?
It is. And look, all of our interviews we've had, we've never been asked that question, but it's a really good
great question, brother. You know what? It's funny. And not to sound cocky or anything like that, because we're blessed and we're very confident. Sure. We've always embraced the fact that no one ever wanted to give us anything easy. And that applies to Fat Joe. That applies to DJ Khaled. That applies to Cool and Dre. You know, we were never the darlings of the game. We had to basically fight our way to get in. And at the same time, I don't want to shut down the people in that's embraced us. You know, the fans have always embraced us, and we love the fans. And the artists have embraced us as well. But it definitely, you know, we had to pick the lock and we had to kick the back door down to get in. But, you know, that only makes us stronger and better. But you're absolutely right. You know what I'm saying? And we embraced it. We love it. You know what I'm saying? The minute we feel like we're getting too comfortable, that's a problem. So we like having our back against the wall. We like when people, they want to act like they don't believe. Cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We embrace that. We like that. You know what I'm saying? But we love the love too. But yeah, you know what I mean? We definitely felt like the crew of misfits for sure.
Right.
To add to that, you know, I think us being from Miami gave us a little edge because there's so many different, we grew up around so much different music and so much different culture. You know what I'm saying? That it was never like a certain group of, you know what I'm saying? A certain group of people. It was always like everybody. Like we grew up, me and Dre grew up around every culture. So when we came out there, it was like we came with that energy. We embraced everybody. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, of course, like, you know, you're always gonna have your people that don't believe you, haters, but we came from the ground, we came from the dirt, but we came from around different cultures. So we was able to we were like chameleons. We knew how to adjust in different, you know, we could be in the Bronx Cafe with Joe, and me and Dre would ride up to Harlem, you know what I'm saying, and get the white tees. And it was like we knew how to adapt because we from Miami. It's like you know, we seen the Jamaicans, you know what I'm saying? We seen the Haitians, we seen the Dominicans, and it's like, yo, this remind me of the crib. So I think that helped us adapt as well. You know what I mean? And pretty much a lot of the places we went early on in our career before, you know, while we was trying to figure it out. But I think, you know, to add to that as well, you know, Joe embracing us early on in our career, you know what I'm saying, and basically introducing us to everybody in the studio. Like, these are my guys, Cool and Dre from Miami. Yeah. You know, was so, because, you know, even though he didn't get the support, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, he was looked at early on as like, yo, this Latino rapper, you know what I'm saying? The stereotypical thing that we're discussing, but it was so much respect for Joe. You know what I'm saying? That Cats was like, he's like, you know, the Don. Everybody would come check him in the studio, and he'd be like, yo, these are my guys, Cool and Dre. And we just like, you know, we maneuvered through that. So it was, you know, there's all that obstacle that you're talking is always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? You can't do nothing about it. But all we got to do is keep putting up the hits. You know what I'm saying? And then that's all that matters.
Let the hits talk for you.
Exactly.
I love that. Listen, I mean, I know Sunshine is out everywhere right now. Anything else y'all want to push? You want people to be checking out that you got going on coming up?
We'll try to meet it for today, but if not.
Yo, but just make sure you go get that Sunshine. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate the love. Y'all keep running that up. You know what I mean? As far as Cool and Dre, y'all make sure to check for everything we do. You know what I'm saying? We just produced Bryson Tiller's next record featuring Big Sean.
Nice.
We never stopping. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my solo album. It's 95% done. It's a classic. I can't wait for y'all to hear that with some really big features. And we'd love to come back and talk about that when it's time.
Absolutely. Anytime. Listen, my platform is your platform. You guys are legends. I appreciate you guys hopping on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, family.
Good brother.
All right, y'all.
Love.
Take care. Okay?
God bless.
Love.
Peace.
Bless up.
Big shout out to my guests this week, Cool and Dre. Absolutely just legends in the game. Such an honor to get to sit here and have a conversation with them. Of course, make sure you check out the single they produced for Fat Joe and DJ Khaled called Sunshine, out everywhere right now. And before I get out of here, man, of course, as I always do, I want to end on some positivity in the form of a positive quote. Now, of course, it's Women's History Month, so all my quotes from this month will be coming to us from influential women. Today's quote will come to us from Hilda Solis, who was a part of the Obama administration. And her quote is, "It's important to stand up for your rights, and regardless of who you are and where you come from, to hold your head high with dignity and respect." And I started the show talking about just the egregiousness that women have historically had to face in the workplace, from money to sexual harassment. And it's amazing to see women using the platforms available to them now to come forward, because sadly, there are so many women who have experienced these types of acts and just don't speak about it out of fear of multiple things. And this goes on to conversations when it comes to racism and all of the above, right? You're talking about people whose voices have been suppressed for far too long. And that is why it is so important for all of us that we live in this age right now. We all have a platform, be it social media, whatever the case may be. We have to start standing up for the things that we believe in and push back against our oppressors. That's the only way things are going to change. And I don't give a damn if it makes others feel uncomfortable. They need to face the hard reality and the hard truth, even if it is not, their daily reality. Because sadly, cases like what we see with women or racism or, injustice at the hands of police, these are all far too common things that have been swept under the rug for far too long. And now is the time for all of us to speak out and make sure we're doing our part to hopefully start seeing the change that we want to see. Now, with that said, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode this week. I appreciate all the love and support. Of course, we'll be back next week with another incredible episode. Until then, stay safe. Talk to you soon. Bye.